Horror fiction, the name itself sends shivers down our spines. It is a genre designed to unsettle, to disturb, to frighten. Its purpose is to tap into our deepest fears, those primal instincts buried within us. Two primary branches dominate this landscape of fear: psychological and supernatural horror. Psychological horror preys on the fragility of the mind. It explores the darkness within, the potential for madness and violence that lurks beneath the surface of normalcy. Think Edgar Allan Poe's descent into madness in The Telltale Heart. Supernatural horror, on the other hand, introduces us to a realm beyond the rational. Here, ghosts, vampires, demons, and monsters roam free, challenging the boundaries of our reality. Imagine the chilling encounter with Dracula in Bram Stoker's iconic novel. Horror, in all its forms, is a journey into the heart of darkness, a confrontation with the unknown that both terrifies and compels us. Before the written word, fear found its voice in oral traditions. Ancient myths and folklore are littered with monstrous creatures and terrifying deities. These stories served as cautionary tales reflecting humanity's deepest fears and anxieties. Consider the Epic of Gilgamesh, one of the earliest known works of literature. It features Humbaba, a monstrous giant who guards the cedar forest. Humbaba's roar is like a flood, his breath is death, and his teeth are dragon's fangs. Ancient Egyptian mythology gave us Amit, the devourer of souls, a terrifying chimera with the head of a crocodile, the forequarters of a lion, and the hindquarters of a hippopotamus. Amit dwelled in the Hall of Two Truths, where she devoured the hearts of those deemed unworthy by Osiris, god of the underworld. These ancient tales, passed down through generations, laid the foundation for horror fiction. They established the power of storytelling to explore the darkness that exists both within and outside ourselves. The medieval period, steeped in superstition and religious fervor, proved fertile ground for horror. The Black Death, which ravaged Europe in the 14th century, cast a long shadow over the collective psyche. Death became an ever-present spectre, fueling anxieties and finding expression in art and literature. Witches, often portrayed as malevolent figures in league with the devil, became a common motif in medieval horror. These women, often marginalized and feared, were blamed for misfortune and illness. The Malleus Maleficarum, a treatise on witchcraft published in 1486, codified beliefs about witches and fueled witch hunts across Europe. Werewolves, humans capable of transforming into wolves, also stalked the pages of medieval horror. These creatures embodied the fear of the wild, the untamed aspects of nature that threatened civilization. The legend of the Beast of Gévaudan, a creature that terrorized a French province in the 18th century, further fueled the belief in werewolves. Vampires, though not as prominent as witches and werewolves, also emerged in medieval folklore. These creatures, often depicted as undead beings who preyed on the living, tapped into anxieties about disease and the sanctity of the grave. The medieval period, with its obsession with death and the supernatural, solidified key themes and monsters that would continue to haunt horror fiction for centuries to come. Section 4. Gothic Shadows, a new era of terror. The 18th century witnessed the birth of Gothic horror, a genre that embraced atmosphere, suspense, and psychological torment. Set against the backdrop of crumbling castles, desolate landscapes, and shadowy forests, Gothic horror explored the darker aspects of human nature. Horace Walpole's The Castle of Otranto, published in 1764, is considered the first Gothic novel. It established many of the genre's conventions, including the use of supernatural elements, the exploration of ancient prophecies, and the presence of a brooding, Byronic hero. Anne Radcliffe, often called the mother of the Gothic romance, further refined the genre with novels like The Mysteries of Udolpho. Radcliffe excelled at creating suspense, using vivid descriptions and psychological insights to terrify her readers. Her novels often featured innocent heroines trapped in isolated castles, preyed upon by mysterious villains. Matthew Lewis's The Monk, published in 1796, pushed the boundaries of Gothic horror with its explicit depictions of violence, sexuality, and satanic themes. The novel, considered scandalous in its time, explored the depths of human depravity and the corrupting influence of power. Gothic horror, with its emphasis on atmosphere and psychological realism, paved the way for the modern horror genre. It established the power of suggestion, the chilling effect of things unseen and unheard. Section 5, Victorian Spectres, Unmasking the Darkness Within. The 19th century saw horror fiction grapple with the anxieties of the Victorian era. Rapid industrialization, scientific advancements, and social upheaval created a sense of unease, a fear of the unknown that manifested in literature. Edgar Allan Poe, a master of the macabre, explored the depths of human psychology in his chilling tales. Stories like The Telltale Heart, The Fall of the House of Usher, and The Pit and the Pendulum delve into madness, guilt, and the fragility of the human psyche. Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, published in 1818, explored the ethical implications of scientific ambition. The novel, considered a seminal work of both horror and science fiction, questioned the limits of human knowledge and the consequences of tampering with the natural order. Bram Stoker's Dracula, published in 1897, introduced the world to the most iconic vampire of all time. The novel, with its themes of seduction, fear, and the battle between good and evil, tapped into anxieties about sexuality, disease, and the intrusion of the foreign into Victorian society. Victorian horror, with its focus on psychological realism and social commentary, reflected the anxieties of a rapidly changing world. It explored the darkness within, the potential for evil that lurked beneath the surface of respectability.